The worst part about finding out someone was breaking into my house every Wednesday was realizing my daughter already knew. For 6 months, someone walked through my home while I was gone, opened my drawers, touched my clothes, stood in the bedroom where my husband died. And I kept telling myself I was just getting old, because that's what my daughter kept telling me. Mom, you're forgetting things. Mom, you're moving things and not remembering. Mom, maybe it's time to talk to a doctor. And slowly, I started to believe her, until the day my neighbor grabbed my arm on the stairs and whispered something that made my entire body go cold. Do you know who's been going into your house every Wednesday? In that moment, I realized something terrifying. I wasn't losing my memory. Someone was trying to make me think I was. And when I installed a hidden camera to prove it, I didn't just catch a stranger breaking into my home. I caught proof that someone in my own family was helping them. If you're listening right now, tell me which city you're in. I read every comment. And please stay with me until the end, because what I discovered on that camera destroyed my family forever. I had lived in that house for 22 years, long enough to know every sound it made. The third stair creaked if you stepped too close to the railing. The kitchen cabinet that gets stuck in humid weather. The way the afternoon sunlight landed perfectly across the living room carpet at 3 p.m. My husband, Michael, and I bought that house when we were both still working. It wasn't fancy, but it was safe. And when you grow up poor like I did, safe means everything. Michael died 5 years ago. Heart failure. Quiet. In his sleep. I found him in the morning. Still warm. That was the day silence became something I was afraid of. But I stayed in that house, because leaving would have felt like losing him all over again. My daughter Rachel visited once or twice a month. Less after she got promoted. Less after she moved across town. But enough to make me feel like I still mattered. At least, that's what I told myself. Every Wednesday, I volunteered at the community food pantry. 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Same schedule. Same route. Same routine. I liked the routine. Routine meant control. Routine meant safety. The first strange thing happened in early October. I came home and my hallway light was on. I never leave lights on. Never. I stood there staring at it for a long time, trying to remember. Did I forget? Was I distracted? Was I rushing? I turned it off and told myself it was nothing. Then it happened again. And again. Then I found my jewelry box slightly open. Not wide. Just enough to notice if you were paying attention. Closed it and told myself I was imagining things. Then one Wednesday, I came home and my bedroom window was cracked open. Cold air is drifting through the curtains. I stood there frozen. As I knew, I had locked it that morning. That night, I sat on my couch and thought something that terrified me more than any intruder ever could. What if I were losing my memory? I mentioned it to Rachel once. She got very quiet. Then she said softly, "Mom, it happens." Not cruel. Not harsh. Just gentle. Like you talk to someone fragile. I never brought it up again. Then came the Wednesday when my neighbor stopped me. Mrs. Alvarez lived downstairs. We weren't close, but we were friendly. Holiday cookies. Elevator small talk. That kind of thing. But that day, she looked pale. Serious. Afraid. She grabbed my sleeve. "Martha, I need to ask you something." Her voice was shaking. "Do you know who comes into your house every Wednesday?" I felt my stomach drop. "What do you mean?" I asked. "I hear footsteps," she said. "Voices sometimes. After you leave." I couldn't breathe for a second. "You're sure it's my house?" She nodded. "I know your schedule. I know when you're home. And I know when someone else is up there." I went cold, because I had given no one a key. No one. Not even Rachel. She lost hers years ago and never replaced it. That night, I didn't sleep. Every sound felt wrong. Every shadow felt alive. 3 a.m. I got up and walked through my house, touching everything, checking everything, counting everything, trying to prove to myself I was still in control. By morning, I made a decision. If someone were entering my home, I needed proof. Not feelings. Not guesses. Proof. I went to an electronics store downtown. The young man behind the counter looked surprised when I said, I need a hidden camera. He showed me several. I bought the best one. If someone were in my home, I wanted their face. That weekend, I practiced using it over and over because I refused to mess this up. Wednesday morning came too fast. My hands were shaking while I hid the camera behind my bookshelf facing the front door. I pressed record. Tiny red light blinked twice, then disappeared, just like he promised. Before I left, I did something strange, something my husband used to do. I placed a single white thread across my door frame. If the door opened, the thread would fall. I locked the door, checked it 3 times, then left. The pantry felt like a dream. I kept checking the clock, counting minutes, imagining footsteps in my home. At 1:40 p.m., I told the supervisor I felt sick, which wasn't a lie. I got home at 2:15 p.m. The first thing I saw was the thread on the floor. Someone had opened my door. My hands were shaking so badly I dropped my keys twice. I locked the door, closed the blinds, pulled the camera out, plugged it into my laptop. It took 3 tries because my hands wouldn't stop shaking. I opened the video file, pressed play. First, nothing. Empty living room. Sunlight is moving across the floor. Normal. Safe. Then, 10:46 a.m. My doorknob moved. Slow. Calm. Like someone who wasn't afraid of being caught. The door opened, and the person who walked inside made my blood turn to ice, because I knew her. Then, another person walked in behind her, and I knew her too. And in that moment, watching strangers walk through my home as they owned it, listening to them talk about me like I wasn't even a person anymore, I realized something that broke something deep inside me. This wasn't random. This wasn't burglary. This was planned, careful, patient, personal. And before the video even finished playing, I already knew. My life was about to change forever. I watched the video 3 times before I understood what it meant. The first time, I told myself I was misunderstanding. The second time, I started shaking. The third time, I realized something inside my life had just broken. Not cracked. Not bent. Broken. The first woman who walked through my front door was Denise, Rachel's friend, a lawyer. I had met her twice. Once at Rachel's birthday dinner. Once at Christmas. She wore expensive perfume and talked about court cases like they were stories from television. I remember thinking she seemed smart, confident, safe. Behind her walked another woman, blonde, younger, carrying a designer purse. I knew it cost more than my monthly grocery bill. I didn't know her name yet, but she moved through my house like she had been there before. Not looking around, not curious, just comfortable. Denise walked straight into my kitchen. Didn't hesitate, didn't check rooms, didn't act like someone who didn't belong there. She opened my refrigerator, pulled out my orange juice, poured herself a glass, took a drink, like it was her house. The blonde dropped onto my couch, my husband's couch, the couch where I slept after he died, because I couldn't stand the silence of our bedroom. She kicked off her shoes, put her feet up, and laughed, like she was relaxing in her own living room. I paused the video, because suddenly I couldn't breathe. My chest felt tight, like something heavy was sitting on it. I told myself to keep watching, because if I stopped now, I would never know the full truth. Press play again. She'll be gone until at least 2, Denise said casually. The blonde nodded. Good. We have time. Time. Time to do what? They walked through my house, opening drawers, opening cabinets, touching things, moving things, leaving fingerprints on a life I built over decades. Then the blonde said, I still can't believe she hasn't noticed. Denise laughed. She thinks she's losing her memory. Rachel says it's getting worse. Rachel says, my hands went cold, because suddenly, everything made sense. The concern, the soft voice, the doctor's suggestions, the memory jokes are disguised as worry. I remembered Rachel standing in my kitchen 2 months ago saying, Mom, you forgot to pay your electric bill. I hadn't forgotten. The notice had been moved from my counter. Now I knew why. Press play again, because I needed to know how far this went. They walked into my bedroom, my safe place. My last place that still felt like Michael. The blonde opened my jewelry box, pulled out my mother's bracelet, held it up to the light. Oh wow, this is vintage. Denise barely looked up. Don't touch anything valuable. Small amounts only. Small amounts. Like I was some kind of slow leak they were draining. The blonde rolled her eyes. I know. She's already suspicious. Denise shook her head. She's not suspicious. She's confused. They both laughed. That laugh still lives in my head. I didn't cry. Not yet. I just sat there, watching strangers treat my life like storage. Then Denise walked to my desk, opened the drawer, pulled out my checkbook, like she knew exactly where it was. My stomach dropped, because only 3 people knew where I kept that. Me, my husband, my daughter. Just one today, Denise said. We don't want to get greedy. The blonde sat down, started writing, practiced, confident, like she had done it before. How much? She asked. 300, Denise said. Spread out. That's how you stay invisible. Invisible. Like I didn't matter. Like I wasn't real. Then came the sentence that changed everything. The blonde asked, how long until Rachel gets power of attorney? Denise shrugged. Depends on how fast we push the memory evaluation. Once dementia is on record, it's done. I paused the video, and this time, I cried. Not loud, not dramatic, just quiet tears falling onto my hands. Because my daughter, my only child, had been planning this, and I didn't even know when it started. I sat there until the screen went dark, until the house felt colder, until I realized something worse than theft had happened. They didn't just want my money, they wanted my life, and they almost convinced me to give it to them. I didn't sleep that night, not even for a minute. Every sound in the house felt wrong. The refrigerator hums. The pipes are ticking. The wind is pushing against the windows. For the first time in 22 years, my house didn't feel like home. It felt like evidence. I sat at my kitchen table, watching the video again, and again, and again, taking notes, times, words, movements, every detail. If they thought I was confused, I was about to become the most organized woman they had ever met. I counted my cash, checked my accounts, matched dates, matched withdrawals. 6 months. 6 months of small thefts. Small enough to miss. Small enough to doubt. I realized something terrifying. This wasn't random. This wasn't desperation. This was a strategy. They were turning me into an unreliable witness in my own life. And Rachel was helping them do it. I walked into my bedroom, sat on my side of the bed, touched Michael's pillow, and said out loud, I'm not losing my mind. Then I said something else. Something I didn't know I was capable of saying. I'm going to stop them. I made 3 copies of the video. 3. Because Michael always said, never keep evidence in one place. 1 stayed hidden in my house. 1 went into my purse. 1. I mailed it to my lawyer. Without telling Rachel. Without telling anyone. Then I turned off every light in my house. And sat in the dark. Listening. Thinking. Planning. And for the first time since my husband died, I didn't feel weak. I didn't feel lonely. I felt dangerous. And they had no idea. I was about to fight back. The morning after I watched the video, I didn't feel like the same person. Not broken. Not weak. Not confused. Just different. Colder. Quieter. More aware. I woke up before the sun. 5:07 a.m. I remember because I stared at the red numbers on my clock for a long time, trying to decide if I should get up, or just lie there and pretend my life hadn't changed. The house was silent. The kind of silence that used to comfort me. Now it felt like it was watching me. I sat up slowly. Every muscle in my body felt tight, like I had been clenching all night without realizing it. I walked to the kitchen, turned on the light, then immediately turned it off again, because suddenly I wondered, had they stood here in the dark? Had they touched this counter? Had they opened these drawers while laughing about me? I made coffee anyway, out of habit, not because I wanted it. I sat at my kitchen table and opened my laptop. I told myself I was only going to watch the video one more time, just to confirm, just to be sure. I watched it 4 times. The first time I watched like a victim. The second time I watched like a witness. The third time I watched like a detective. The fourth time, I watched like someone planning a war. I noticed things I missed before. Denise didn't look around when she entered. She didn't check corners. She didn't hesitate. She knew my house layout perfectly. The blonde woman went straight to my bedroom. Not exploring. Not guessing. Straight there. Like she knew exactly where she was going. That meant one thing. They had been there many times. Not just once. Not just twice. Many. I paused the video when Denise opened my desk drawer. The checkbook drawer. Only 3 people knew where I kept that. Me. My husband. My daughter. I closed my laptop slowly, because saying Rachel's name in my head still felt impossible. I sat there a long time. Long enough for the sun to fully rise. Long enough for my coffee to go cold. Then I said something out loud. I am not losing my mind. My voice sounded strange in the empty kitchen. Stronger than I felt, but steadier than I expected. Then I said something else. I am not going to let them take my life. And that was the moment something inside me shifted. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just quietly. Like a lock turning. If they thought I was confused, I would let them keep thinking that. That afternoon, I called Rachel. I practiced what I was going to say 3 times before dialing. I made my voice softer. Slower. A little unsure. She answered on the second ring. Hi, Mom. Too cheerful. Too fast. Hi, sweetheart, I said quietly. There was a pause. Like she was listening carefully. Measuring my tone. I think you might have been right, I said. Silence. Then carefully. About what? My memory, I said. I think something might be wrong. The silence that followed told me everything. Then she spoke. Soft. Comforting. Controlled. Oh, Mom. It's okay. We'll figure it out together. Together. The word felt poisonous. I found things moved again yesterday, I said. I don't remember touching them. Another pause. Then, that must be really scary. But she didn't sound scared. She sounded relieved. I think I should get evaluated, I said quietly. Maybe next month. That's a good idea, she said immediately. Too immediately. I closed my eyes, because hearing her agree so fast hurt worse than the video. After I hung up, I sat at my table for a long time, trying not to cry, trying not to scream, trying not to call her back and ask, why? Instead, I opened my laptop and ordered 2 more cameras. If they were going to keep coming, I was going to see everything. I spent the weekend learning how to use them. Testing angles. Testing sound. Testing battery life. By Sunday night, I knew exactly where they would go. One inside my living room plant. One inside my hallway clock. If they entered again, I would see everything. Hear everything. Know everything. And this time, I wouldn't just watch. Because next Wednesday, I wasn't going to the pantry. I was coming home early. And they had no idea. Wednesday morning came heavy. Like the air itself knew something was about to break. I woke up at 4:58 a.m. Didn't try to go back to sleep. Just lie there. Listening. Thinking. Remembering. I thought about Rachel as a child. How she used to climb into my bed during thunderstorms. How she used to hold my hand crossing streets, even when she was too old for it. How she cried the first time she left for college. I wondered when I lost her. Or if she lost me first. At 7 a.m. I got up. Made breakfast. Didn't eat it. At 8:30 I turned on all 3 cameras. Checked them twice. Then a third time. At 9 a.m. I left my house. Just like always. I smiled at Mrs. Alvarez. She gave me a look that said she knew. Instead of going to the pantry, I went to a coffee shop 3 blocks away. I sat near the window, watching the street, watching time. At 10:52 a.m., my phone buzzed. Mrs. Alvarez. They just went in. 2 women. My heart didn't race. Not like I expected. It just slowed. I waited 5 minutes. Exactly 5. Then I stood. Paid. Walked home. Every step felt unreal. Like I was walking toward a version of my life I could never undo. When I reached my door, I heard voices inside. laughing, moving, opening things. My house sounded like someone else's home. I unlocked the door. Slow, quiet. I opened it, walked inside, closed it behind me. Silence. Denise stood near my desk. The blonde woman stood halfway down my hallway, holding my mother's bracelet. All three of us froze. "Hello," I said. My voice is calm, almost gentle. Denise recovered first. Of course she did. She smiled. "Martha, we were just checking on you. Rachel asked us to." "I have video," I said. The room went cold. "I have 6 months of video," I continued, "and copies sent to my lawyer." The bracelet fell from the blonde woman's hand, hit the floor. Denise's smile cracked. "Just a little. You don't understand what you're doing," she said quietly. "Oh, I do," I said. "For the first time in months, I understand everything." I stepped closer. Slow. Controlled. "You thought I was confused," I said. "You thought I wouldn't notice. You thought I wouldn't fight." Neither of them spoke. "Get out of my house," I said. They left. Fast. But before Denise stepped outside, she turned and said, "You think this is over? Rachel has been planning this for a year." Then she left. And I stood in my doorway, realizing this was bigger than theft. Bigger than money. This was about erasing me. And my daughter was helping them do it. That was the moment I stopped hoping this was a misunderstanding and started preparing for war. The house felt different after I forced them out. Not safer. Not calmer. Just aware. Like it knew something had changed. Like it knew a line had been crossed that could never be uncrossed. For 3 days, I barely slept. Not from fear. From adrenaline. From the kind of alertness animals have when they know a predator is nearby. Every sound made me pause. Every car slowing outside made me look through the blinds. Every unknown number on my phone made my stomach tighten. But I didn't hide. I prepared. Thursday morning I called my lawyer, Harold Morrison. He had handled my husband's estate when Michael died. Calm man. Careful man. The kind who never raised his voice, which somehow made him more intimidating than people who shouted. "Harold," I said, "I need to show you something." I didn't explain over the phone. Some things needed to be seen, not described. That afternoon I sat in his office while he watched the footage. All of it. Not interrupting. Not reacting. Just watching. When it ended, he removed his glasses, sat very still, then said, "Martha, this is criminal. Not maybe. Not possibly. Criminal. Breaking. Theft. Forgery. Conspiracy. Financial exploitation." Hearing those words out loud made something inside me settle. Because this wasn't paranoia. This wasn't confusion. This was real. "We can go to the police today," he said. I shook my head. "Not yet." He looked surprised. "I need to understand Rachel's role," I said. "I need proof. 'Cause even now, even after everything, part of me wanted to believe there was some explanation, some misunderstanding, some version of my daughter is still inside all this." Harold nodded slowly. "Then we document everything," he said. And that became our plan. Bank records, check signatures, camera timestamps, audio transcripts, copies of everything, multiple locations. If they wanted to call me confused, I was going to bury them in facts. Friday afternoon, Rachel called. I stared at her name on my phone for a long time. Before answering, "Mom, we need to talk." Her voice sounded different. Not soft. Not worried. Controlled. Careful. "I heard you had visitors," she said. There it was. No surprise. Not confusion. Information. "Yes," I said simply. Silence. Then, "Mom, Denise and Patricia were trying to help you." Help. The word made my jaw tighten. "They were inside my house," I said. "You probably misunderstood what was happening," she said quickly. Gaslighting. Calm. Professional. Like she had practiced this. "I have video," I said. Silence. Longer this time. Then her voice changed. Harder. Colder. "Mom, do you understand what you're accusing people of?" "Yes," I said. "And I have proof." Another long silence. Then, You're making a mistake. And in that moment, I realized something horrible. She wasn't afraid of being wrong. She was afraid of being caught. Mom, Denise is a lawyer, she said. Patricia's husband is a judge. A threat. Wrapped in concern. You're going to look like a paranoid old woman accusing respected people, she said quietly. My hand started shaking, but my voice didn't. I guess we'll see, I said, and I hung up. Then I sat in my living room and cried for the daughter I realized I might have already lost. The email came 3 days later. Subject line: Guardianship petition emergency filing. I stared at it for a long time before opening it. Rachel was petitioning the court to declare me mentally incompetent. Attached were statements from neighbors I barely knew, saying I seemed forgetful, confused, paranoid. They were building a case, not just to steal from me, to erase me legally, to take my home, my money, my rights. I forwarded everything to Harold. He called me within minutes. They moved faster than I expected, he said. Are we ready? I asked. We will be, he said. For the next 2 weeks, my life became documentation, evaluations, statements, preparation. Harold brought in a gerontologist, Dr. Sarah Kim. 3 hours of cognitive testing, memory, problem solving, logic, orientation. When she finished, she smiled. Martha, you are cognitively sharper than most people 20 years younger. I cried. Not from sadness, from relief. 'Cause now, I had proof, not just of their crimes, but in my mind, my reality, myself. Then came the court hearing date. I saw Rachel in the hallway before we went in. She looked tired, older. But when she saw me, her face hardened. Mom, it didn't have to be like this, she said. You broke into my house, I said quietly. I was trying to protect you, she said. No, I said. You were trying to control me. She looked away. And I knew, whatever was left between us, was already gone. Inside the courtroom, I sat at one table. Rachel, Denise, and Patricia sat at another. 3 women who thought they could erase me. Then Harold pressed play, and the courtroom filled with their voices, laughing, planning, forging, threatening. I watched Rachel's face as her world collapsed, and in that moment, I felt something I never thought I would feel toward my own child. Not hate, just finality. The courtroom felt colder on the day of the final hearing. Not physically, emotionally. Like every person inside already knew someone's life was about to change forever. I woke up before my alarm. 4:43 a.m. I didn't try to go back to sleep. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, remembering Rachel as a child. Her first day of school. Her first broken heart. The way she used to call me from college just to hear my voice. I wondered when I lost her, or if she slowly traded me away for something else. Security, money, control. By 8 a.m. I was dressed. Hair neat. Simple navy blouse. The one Michael used to say made me look strong but kind. Harold picked me up at 9. He didn't talk much. Just nodded once when I got in the car. The kind of nod that says, we're ready. Outside the courthouse, Rachel stood with Denise and Patricia. 3 women. 3 lives tied together by one decision. Rachel looked smaller than I remembered. But when she saw me, her expression hardened, like she was putting armor back on. Mom, we can still stop this, she said quietly. Stop this. Like I started it. You broke into my house, I said. My voice is calm, steady, final. I was trying to help you, she said. No, I said. You were trying to replace me. She flinched. And I knew that landed. Inside the courtroom, everything felt slow, heavy, permanent. Denise spoke first. Confident, professional, painting me as confused, paranoid, emotionally unstable after losing my husband. I almost laughed, because grief doesn't make you blind, it makes you notice everything. Then Harold stood and pressed play. The room filled with their voices. Denise sang, small amounts. That's how you stay invisible. Patricia laughed while holding my jewelry, talking about forging checks. talking about my declining memory. Then the second video played. Their threats, their plan, their confidence. I watched Rachel's face and saw the moment she realized this was over. The judge didn't even try to hide her anger. The guardianship petition was denied. Immediately, Denise and Patricia were referred for criminal prosecution. Then the judge looked at Rachel and asked, "Did you coordinate these entries into your mother's home?" Rachel cried. Real tears. "Yes," she whispered. And something inside me went very quiet. Not relief, not victory, not revenge. Just the sound of something ending forever. The trials lasted months. Longer than I expected. Shorter than my grief. Denise went to prison. Lost her law license. Lost everything she built. Patricia went to prison too. Shorter sentence. But still prison. Still consequences. Rachel took the hardest fall. Because she lost more than freedom. She lost trust. She lost her career. She lost custody of my granddaughter. And she lost me. I testified at her trial. My own daughter. My voice never broke. Guys, by then, I understood something. Love doesn't mean protecting someone from consequences. Sometimes love means telling the truth anyway. The jury found her guilty. When they led her away, she looked at me like she was seeing me clearly for the first time. I didn't wave. I didn't cry. I just nodded. Because I needed her to know. I was still standing. The house stayed mine. I changed the locks. Installed security. Installed cameras. Not from fear. From control. Mrs. Alvarez became more than a neighbor. She became family. I started volunteering again. But differently. I joined an elder protection hotline. Helped other seniors document abuse. Recognize gaslighting. Protect their independence. Because I learned something no one teaches you. The most dangerous theft is when someone steals your confidence. Your reality. Your voice. 2 years later. My life is quieter. But stronger. My granddaughter visits. Sometimes we paint together. Sometimes we just sit. She asked me once, "Grandma, do you hate Mom?" I told her the truth. I hate what she did. But I don't hate her. Because hate would mean she still controls something inside me. And she doesn't. If you're listening to my story right now, remember this. If something feels wrong, trust yourself. Document everything. Speak up. And never let anyone convince you that your voice doesn't matter. Because your life belongs to you.